So I wanted to point out how Joe Biden is actually doing better at fighting Obama era nonsense, pro-communist nonsense with relation to things like Cuba and China. Although with China, he's basically just reiterating and expanding on uh, Trump era tactics in the South China Sea and things like that. But he's done better at fighting the Obama era soft, uh, almost trying to have allegiances with countries like Cuba and Venezuela. He's basically done well. He came out on I forget when it was very recently. I think it was yesterday. He came out in support of the Cuban people rioting against the Cuban communist regime right now in Cuba. And he also has reiterated on Sunday. It was reiterated by his I think it was the State Department guy, might have been the defense guy. But it was reiterated, we will not allow China to violate maritime law, and we will not allow them to violate the rights of countries like Vietnam and the Philippines and Taiwan and simply take over swaths of the South China Sea. This is a sea that is important to shipping, and this is not stuff this is not new. Biden has been stating this since he was campaigning, since his inaugural address, through now. He will defend the primacy of the United States as a superpower in the world. Okay? And this is different than both Trump and Obama. Okay? Now, I'm not exactly crazy about, the idea of the United States being the only superpower and things like that. But the thing is, with countries, and people might go, well, you speak very positively of China. I don't speak positively of China. I speak honestly of China when it comes to things like their handling of the coronavirus. I speak honestly about it. I don't think that they did a bad job. I think that they had to take into consideration the outcome of that many people panicking. There wasn't any evidence of a lab leak. I think that it did arise like bird flu arises and like other things arise. I mean, for God's sakes, in mink farms, and I believe it was somewhere in Scandinavia, there was another COVID virus that arose naturally, and allegedly they exterminated all of the minks. They liquidated the population, which allegedly protected the public from the rise of that COVID virus. But you have to take into consideration, this isn't new. Deer hunters in the United States can catch tuberculosis. It's put out by the Fish and Game Commissions from handling the meat, the lung tissue of infected, or not even just the lung tissue, just the tissue of infected deer meat. You can contract tuberculosis. So, people's ideas, I think, are a little kooky in regards to that, and I speak honestly on China. I don't speak one way or the other. Do I see China as an ally of the United States or a potential ally of the United States? No, I don't. And I don't see Russia. There was a time when I saw Russia as a potential ally of the United States, at least in terms of partnerships with science and things like that. And I still think that that is a possibility. But the fact of the matter is, this is not, I don't think Russia, like I said, I speak honestly about these things. I don't see anything wrong with China working for Chinese interests, or Russia working for Russian interests, or the United States working for U.S. interests. The goal is to work on these interests in a way that is mutually beneficial to everyone. The problem is with countries like China and North Korea, and I'm not anti-North Korea. People might find that odd. And I've done past videos about my views on Juche and Kim Il-sung. I'm not against really any of the. I see countries for what they are. They're looking out for their interests. For example, the Cuban regime is looking out for the interests of the Cuban regime. People might remember a little while ago I mentioned why the United States didn't take Cuba. I didn't understand why they didn't take Cuba instead of Puerto Rico during the Spanish-American War when we kicked Spain out of the New World, okay? And the thing is, maybe we can rectify that now. Maybe the U.S. has the sense to move into Cuba, at least form a binding alliance with Cuba if the Cuban communist regime falls, so that Russia or China doesn't sneak in there and retain Cuba as a belligerent to the United States. And we've already lost Venezuela. We're in the process of losing other countries like Argentina, who is friendly with Cuba and friendly with Venezuela now because of the new leader of Argentina is friendly to Cuba. So you have to understand, and that's not against Argentina. I'm still going to Argentina when I have the ability to. I have nothing against Argentina or the Argentinian people. That's just the way that their president feels. Okay? And I think it's a bad choice to support Cuba. But I don't know. I mean, that's just, the opinion of that gentleman versus the opinion of me. People have different opinions. People have different views. I just think that support for Cuba by the Argentinian president, I don't think is in the best interest of the Argentinian people or Argentina in general. I don't think support for Cuba would be in the interest of the American people, the United States people, and people that. And this is the thing: I am not necessarily against Castroism. Now, how it played out, yeah, it played out more like, unfortunately, like Juche played out. Although, like North Korea, you can't have a monarch and call yourself communist. And that's what people aren't understanding, is these forms of Castroism and what's taking place in North Korea. This is not, and Venezuela, these are not communist countries. These are bastardizations of communism. It's not Stalinist Leninism. A lot of people like to compare it to Stalinism. It's not Stalinism. It's not Leninism. It is a different thing. It's essentially the semblance of a monarchy disguised as a communist revolutionary government. Now, that doesn't mean that everything, like Bernie Sanders said, and I can't believe I'm quoting Bernie Sanders, it's very unfair to say everything is bad with Cuba. Cuba produces some of the best doctors in the whole world. Cuba has offered the United States assistance during natural disasters and things of that nature. Okay, I don't know if we've accepted that assistance. Cuba also has great animal husbandry. They created cows that could produce more milk than anywhere else in the world through non-genetic engineering and non-genetic, non-GMO cows, but just through practical animal husbandry. My point is it's unfair to say anything is good or bad about any country. But the good news is that Biden continues to stand firm against Cuba and continues to stand firm against the People's Republic of China and continues to stand firm against, the DPRK and continues to stand firm on Trump-era policies against the PRC, which are in the interest of the American people and in the interest of the world. And because Biden's not a complete imbecile, he has started rebuilding our alliances in Europe and in Asia, and is committed to working with the EU and committed to working with our allies in Asia. I'm hoping he expands it to Vietnam and, of course, the Philippines, who were really weird because they were trying to backstab us and join with Russia and China. But the thing is that Biden is continuing the Trump era policies with China and expanding on them to better protect American interests. And this is something that you didn't see under the Trump regime because of his unilateral thinking and his inability to work diplomatically. Whereas you see Biden as a more skilled diplomat. He is more skilled as a diplomat and at hiring diplomats, appointing diplomats to positions where they can make good on being diplomatic. A positive thing in Trump news, in the Trumposphere, I joined Trump's lawsuit against big tech. And I'm going to put a link in the description, and I strongly encourage absolutely everybody to join Trump's lawsuit against big tech if you have been censored by big tech. I mean, the reason I joined it was because of the treatment by Google, and hopefully this video won't get taken down, the treatment by Google of then Representative Tulsi Gabbard while she was running for president, and the fact that they took down her Google ads for an imaginary violation and never told her what the violation was, and then magically put them back up afterward. Now to go further, I myself have been basically, my accounts have been taken down on Facebook permanently. The reason my Facebook account was permanently taken down, I don't even remember at this point. I think it had to do with me posting the truth about black on everyone violence. And I was using news stories to do it. It wasn't like these were, crazy, articles written by lunatics. These were news stories that I was posting, and videos, like Colin Flaherty videos and things of that nature. And my Twitter account, I've lost 2 Twitter accounts, okay? 2, dos accountos from Twitter, both for posting scientific evidence related to IQ and brain size and racial distribution of IQ and things of this, using perfectly normal data from the National Institute of Health and other resources like the Psychological Association and things like that. These were not, again, these are mainstream. These are mainstream either federal agencies like the National Institute of Health, or they're mainstream agencies like the Psychological Association and things like that, and other like Nature magazine, things like that. And these are respected scientific journals where I was grabbing the information from. It wasn't like I was just, spreading lies about this stuff, but that was the reason. It had to do, my last Twitter account was taken down, and I'm not even bothering to, start up a new Facebook or Twitter account because, frankly, I don't care. I don't care about having another Twitter or Facebook account because of the nature of these 2 social media platforms and the fact that they will continue to act in a way that does not allow me to post things that are enlightening to the public, or when like a Black Lives Matter person argues with me. I think the one that got me banned on Twitter was I posted the marshmallow test of delayed gratification. And what that said was, and this is not racist, this is just what the research said, white children scored higher than Hispanic children and black children on delayed gratification, which the question, I think it was like, would you rather have 1 marshmallow now or 3 marshmallows 10 minutes from now? And the white and Hispanic children scored better than the black children, and the whites scored better than the Hispanic children. And that was the way they were gauging delayed gratification. I don't think it's the most accurate thing, but I think it's worth looking at. And amongst other things that were taken down by Twitter that they informed me of were against their standards was something from the NIH that had to do with brain size, and IQ, how brain size is directly correlated to intelligence, to measurable intelligence as measured by an IQ test. I am an IQ test skeptic to a certain degree, but it's funny because only people with elevated IQ seem to be IQ test skeptics. It's kind of interesting. I haven't quite put my finger on that one yet. But my point is that that's reality. Reality says that brain size is correlated directly to measurable intelligence as measured by the Stanford Binet IQ test or other IQ tests. And that's what Twitter considered to be against their standards, which is completely outrageous. Most recently, I was banned for a week on YouTube. And I really think YouTube made a mistake on that. And the reason why I think it was a mistake is I expressed concern. I think it was more the way I said it than what I said. And what it was is I expressed concern for Pennsylvania relaxing its mask mandate due to a certain number of people being vaccinated, and they said I was breaking against medical consensus. The information I used to make that video was not necessarily breaking with medical consensus. I left links to where I got the information, and the information was obtained from the CDC and the National Institute of Health. I think it was more the way I said it than what I said. And I think it's getting a little ridiculous that you can't even express concern over certain government policies. And mind you, and I'm not trying to, I want to point this out. The CDC is a government agency. They're not necessarily, and the World Health Organization is it's an international agency. It's not necessarily considered medical consensus. Medical consensus would be, say, the AMA or something of that nature. But again, the information I gathered was from the NIH and the CDC, and I do think it was more the way I said it than what I said. And unfortunately, that got me banned for a week from YouTube, and hopefully this video won't get taken down for me mentioning that, but who knows? Who really knows at this point in time? So I strongly advise anybody that has been harassed or had their accounts repeatedly taken down for posting very benign things like the things that I posted, or even outrageous things. Who cares at this point? Just join the damned lawsuit. You know what I mean? And I left a link to the lawsuit. Trump does actually make sense in the sense that because big tech companies are afforded special immunity from prosecution and immunity from litigious action, that they might be responsible to protect the First Amendment of their users. This is similar to what Tulsi Gabbard had sued them for. When they screwed her over out of her ads. And I think it's all good. I think it's wonderful. I believe in trust busting. I believe in using the government to break up these monopolies and to make certain that the consumer, who is the average American citizen at this point and the citizen of the world, is treated fairly by big tech. And I think that's what this Trump lawsuit will help do if it's successful. Even if it's not successful, like with Tulsi Gabbard, it's putting it into the realm of this can't be going on. Now remember, even AOC grilled Zuckerberg on his power grab, okay? And if you watch Tulsi Gabbard's interview with Joe Rogan, she talks about Zuckerberg's power grab and the creation of a Facebook currency and things like this. I mean, big tech companies, especially social media, have grown to the point where they're in many ways far more powerful than the federal government. They control what you see, they control what you hear, they control the dialogue. As far as the Trump campaign with Twitter is concerned, Twitter took down his account for promoting violence. I was on Twitter telling Trump to F off and declare martial law and everything else. There wasn't any tweets that I saw by the Trump administration, or by Donald Trump himself actually, that declared, let's go commit violence or anything like that. There was nothing like that. So, I mean, the suspension of Donald Trump's account, I think, was a way to suspend his ability to campaign via social media, to rile up his crowd via social media, to get them out, to mobilize their vote. That's what I think. I think that he has grounds on that too. And I think that the obvious interference of YouTube and Google in Tulsi Gabbard's ability to win the nomination, because she demolished Kamala Harris, I can't think of any other reason, I think that that's obvious too. And that's all for this video. Follow the links in the description.